What's up guys, it's way too cold outside to go fishing, so today we're going to do a little DIY project. We are going to build a power box. So this year we're going to run 2 Humminbirds on the boat, and every time for some reason we crank over the big motor, it cuts off the electronics. So we decided to run it from its own battery source, and I thought a power box would be one of the best options, I say, for us. So we're going to get started building this thing. I will put all of the materials that we used in the description of this video, and then we'll also put all of the tools and stuff. Alright, so before we get started, this video was heavily inspired by JDS Outdoors. He made a video about 4 years ago, and ever since then I've had this idea in my head that I wanted to build a power box. I'm mixing his video with a couple newer kits and stuff that are coming out and putting my own little flair on stuff. So we are going to make a 18 amp hour lithium power box. I run a lot of GoPros and cameras, and it's battery management's difficult. So let's get to building. Okay, so first things first, this little Plano ammo can. It's just big enough to fit an 18 amp hour battery. It's got a little gasket around it to make it water resistant. I think this was like 10 bucks at Shields. Second, the lithium battery. So we've got an Amped Outdoors 18 hour lithium iron phosphate battery. This thing is substantially lighter than a lot of the lead acid batteries, and it lasts quite a bit longer. So this is what we're basically putting the whole build around. Next is, instead of trying to come up with all the components myself, I bought this do-it-yourself kit from Icehole Power. Kit comes with USB, voltage, and cigarette lighter. I'm going to take all of these out and drill my own holes for it. It also comes with 6 of these little lights, 6 switches, and 2 banana clips. Because I liked what JDS Outdoors did with his fuse box, I actually chose to do an add-on, which you can do through Icehole Power, and I got this 6-blade fuse box. Next, we'll go through some of the tools that we're going to use for this build. Crimper, wire cutter, and stripper. Got some 16 gauge wire, zip ties. I've got some 5 amp fuses somewhere in here. Got some 3 amp fuses, some machine screws, somewhere around 25 of these little female end quick connects. Got a couple of these larger gauge female end quick connects. I'll show you why. We're gonna be using some of these little ring ends, and then I've got some larger diameter ring ends. Other than that, I've got an 1 1/8" hole saw, little hole bit saw, whatever you want to call it. And then somewhere in here, there we go, I've got a 3/4 inch drill bit as well. Yeah, that's pretty much all of the things through there. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is drill the holes for these guys right here. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to have a hole drilled center here, and center over here. I am a freak for symmetry, so I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure I measure things and get them as lined up as perfect, because if I don't, it will drive me crazy. So we're going to do that first here. Okay, forgot to mention this guy. Okay, so now that I've got those 3 drilled, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole here, 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 and here for the switches, and then I'm also going to put 1 switch right here, and this is going to be the master turn-on switch. Okay, so I just about had a pretty decent mix up there. When I went to drill out this hole, which is going to be a switch hole, it actually caught onto this that was over there, and it broke a piece out. And so it looks like it's still going to work, which is nice, but it's not going to be as clean looking as I want it to be. So I'm going to go in there with the Scalpel. This is my wife's pretty pink Scalpel, and take out this piece right there before I drill the next 2 holes. Okay, so now I'll drill those last 2. So now I'm just going to go in and clean up all of those holes with the scalpel. Okay, switches, there are in. Oh, I guess we got this one on the side. Okay, so there's all the buttons. Main power switch on the side. Switches for all the auxiliaries and things right there. So next, we're just going to get these things taken out of here and then start getting them put into the box themselves. Alright, so I got the voltmeter right there. It's actually in there pretty solid, but what I'm going to have to do is trim away some of these two side pieces here so that I can actually thread this back piece on. So yeah, going to be a little bit of tinkering going on there, some more cutting. Okay, cut that piece out now. This can go right inside and I can just tighten up this voltmeter. Okay, voltage meter on, two switches. Looking good, just got to keep her going. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Basically going to trim out pretty much all of this, trim out pretty much all of this. Okay, so now we've got those two ports nice and cleaned out. So what I plan to do is I'll put the USB here on the right side, and we'll put the cigarette lighter on the left side. Just like that. So far, like a glove. The other one here. Okay, there's all the main ports, voltage meter, my buttons, two flippies. One is cigarette lighter, the other is my double. These are 5 volts each, 2.1 amps. Looking good. Okay, so next we're going to work on this little guy right here. Okay, this is going to be my my fuse block. So fuse block is going to get mounted right there. Actually, we're going to do it like this. Fuse block is going to get mounted like this. And so for me to do this well, one more time, I'm going to need to cut out some pieces. So what I'm going to do here is with my Sharpie, just going to make a mark. Now we'll cut it out. Now this should sit right in there. Perfect. See that? Looks good. So we've got now to put some machine screws, which I've got right here, through this to hold it on. So I gotta find the drill bit that I brought over here. Okay, so what we're gonna do, line that up nicely. I'm just going to touch through 2 holes. See if our machine screws fit through said 2 holes. Look like they're going to be good. Okay, so now we've got fuses, all of our buttons, our 2 posts there, our master there. Now I want to wire in the lights. So we've got a total of 6 of these lights. I'm going to go put 2 through the front, right here, 2 through the side. Actually, let's do it like that. 2 through the side each way. So I can set this into my ice house and have it illuminate the entirety of the front part of the ice house. Very good. Okay, so here's where I want my lights. 2 on the right side, 2 in the center, 2 on the left side. That's going to allow me to set this right in the center of my ice house and basically shine light on every hole for the entirety of that whole pop-up. All right, well, now I got the lights all in. So I got 2 on the side, 2 on the front. A little crooked, whatever. 2 on the side. Now what that's going to let me do is I'll just be able to hold it like this, and I'll have lights all over in front of me. That'll be pretty sweet. Never sucks to have headlights. Okay, so now the last thing that I want to put on these is going to be the banana clips. And that is these 2 guys, and they're going to go right there. So how you go about putting those things on is we take off these little bolts here. And like, we don't want to lose any of this stuff, right? Take off this back piece just like this. And now you can just set them right on where they go here. Whoa. Set them right there. Make 2 marks, drill the holes, put them on. Okay, 4 holes. Now we're just going to take these. I'm going to go red up front, black in the back, positive, negative. Go over to this side here. Put that back piece on. Beauty. I'm going to put one of these locking washers, one of the regular washers, and one of these little nuts here. I'm going to leave the other 2 ends off, and then once it comes time to hook up power, then we'll use one of those little ring connectors there. We'll jump one to each side, and yeah, this thing's turning out really nice already. Okay, so I'm going to use this little bad boy to tighten those things down. That looks pretty dang good, huh? Look at that. All right, so now that this is all done, now it's just time to wire everything. That is going to take a while. Okay, so before we get started with the wiring, I put the battery in, obviously, and so I've got the battery as far to the back as I can, because that's going to be the longest position everything is going to be in. So I want to make sure that all my wires reach from the long position here over to where they need to. So now we start little by little wiring this whole thing, and we're going to start by taking the negatives from the farthest possible spot and then jumping them all the way over to the battery. So then I go from this negative, and I'll splice in another negative, just going from there to there. Good, so then we'll just twist these 2 together here. Here's where we're going to use these yellow ones. Give it a little wiggle, make sure everything's tight. Now we connect that ground to there. We're going to do the exact same thing from this one to this one. Actually, we'll go from this one to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one. And then we'll actually do 2, like, how will I do this? I'll go from here to here to here. I'm going to tie in all of these wires to this one, and then run that back to the main power switch, and then that one back to the battery. Cool.
Okay, so now I've got this last ground, so everything went ground to here. Now I'm going to jump it all the way to the on switch and then back to the battery back here. But first I need to make some sense of this jumbled mess here. This is all of the cables from those lights. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to cut them off, strip them, because in the inside of these big cables, or these small ones, and then I'll run the negative to the negative, and I will run the positive to the switch. Okay, so all of those negatives are now wound to there. I actually need to run another small wire. Okay, now all of those grounds go from here to the very last switch, and then this last one is going to go to the ground of the battery. Okay, so now it's time to start doing the power. We're going to run the power from the battery to the switch 1. I'm actually going to run the out from switch 1 first, just because it's like a really long one. And what I'm going to do here is I actually run this big long out from the first switch all the way up to the voltmeter, which is here. Then I'm going to split that one from the voltmeter out around and to the post here on the fuse block. And that's going to make it so when I hit the on button, it shows me how many volts are on the battery and puts power to like the master. Now we'll run this little jumper right here from this post down around the fuse block here into this peg right here. Let's see if I can get that to focus. That peg right there. And that's going to get power to the fuse box. Now just to test all my ground, what I'm going to do here is I'll run like my little jumper from here, switch 1, the power in from here power, and I just want to plug it in, and if I flip the switch on, then what should happen is we should get a reading on the voltmeter. Switch number 1, power to the voltmeter, it says 13.5 volts. Success. Okay, so now I want to choose where or which switches I want where. So when I have this closed, I want the closest one to the end to be for the flashlights. Then the next one is going to be the posts, the USB, and the 12 volt. So we're going to wire that accordingly. One thing I'm going to do is, to make this easier, I'm going to run a connector where I'm just going to bunch these all up, put them into a male end, then run another wire with a female end to there, just because it ends up being such a cluster. Good. That way now I've cleaned that up. It's just one nice tight little bundle. Then I'm just going to run a little female end from the switch to there. Good. Like I said, we'll run this female end, the male end to the female end, and then I'll run that to a switch. So the next ones I'm going to run to the posts. So I'm going to run positive from here over to here with a splitter down to there. Okay, so here's the piece from the switch to the first post to the second post. Now to the switch. So this is the one I want for the USB, and the USB is here. So we're going to run one from here up, over, and into there. Okay, now the last switch is going to run from this post to right there, the cigarette lighter. Okay, well, now that I have this jumbled mess, everything is ran now from the switches to whatever they're going to. Now all I need to do is run the wires from where the fuse box goes from the main power out to each of the 4 switches, and it should be a functional box. All right, box is all cleaned up. Now the only thing that's left is, because this thing's not going to run at all because I don't have any fuses in there, I already realized that my machine screws are a little too long, that they won't let my fuse box like holder thing close. So I'm going to have to shorten these up. I'll cut them off or something here.
All right, so there you have it. We've got the power box. We'll just kind of run through everything really quickly. On the side, on-off switch, that turns on the voltmeter. Switch number 1 here is going to be to the 12 volt. Switch number 2 goes here to these double USBs. Switch number 3 goes to the banana posts, and switch number 4 to the lighting. Cool. This is all run off of a Amped Outdoors 18 amp hour lithium. It's pretty cool. It's going to come in handy this year. Awesome. I hope you liked the video, guys. If you did and you have any value that you got out of this thing, do me a favor, hit that like and the subscribe button. Feel free to share this. Go over and check out JDS Outdoors' original video because he was absolutely the inspiration behind this build. I did a lot of the same things that he did, but I just added a few little things that were my own. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep living your North Prairie life.